This video is going to be an epic one because I have some wild stories for you today. Someone is suing Pam Bondi for the Epstein files, while BlackRock's Larry Fink has a crazy meltdown on live television. We're going to start things off with the lawsuit filed by Judicial Watch against the DOJ to get the Epstein client list.
Hey everyone, Judicial Watch just sued for the Epstein records. We want the lists, the client lists, pretty much any document the Justice Department or the FBI have about this scandal. I know records have been turned over, but we asked for the records, and we've been getting the runaround from both the Justice Department and the FBI. So the best way to ensure all the records are turned over is to sue in federal court, and that's where we are now. We want to know what records there are, if there are any that we can't have, why not, where did they search for the records, all that basic information, and it's well past time for the American people to get the full truth about this big scandal.
While some people praise Tom Fitton for this action, others don't really agree with his approach. No, I do not agree with Fitton's lawsuit. Tom Fitton should know better as an attorney. It takes time to build cases, especially huge cases. It has not been that long since her office received a massive amount of documents that have been spread out to jurisdictions all around the U.S. Just a thought, Fitton, the major child porn bust internationally and in Florida, could have connections to Epstein's ring. You are likely interfering in an active, ongoing investigation. And for what, really? I do not believe the public's desire for truth overshadows the protection of witnesses, children, involved in these horrific crimes. While this user is making some fair points, let's get one thing straight. People like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel promised to release those files on day one.
Well, the Epstein Black Book, like on day one.
On day one, roll out the Black Book.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
Let me share another fact with you. People are supporting Donald Trump because he has been keeping his campaign promises. He's enforced his border policy, helped North Carolina, and is trying to deal with this gigantic deficit we have. However, some people on his team haven't kept their promises so far, so I don't see what other choice Tom has. For weeks, Pam Bondi has told us the same thing.
But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims, other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m., thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them.
It's becoming more and more clear that those files will never come out unless something is done. So if Judicial Watch can release those client lists by suing the DOJ, I'm all for it. Now, moving on, let me show you just how big of a snake Larry Fink really is. Only a few weeks ago, this man called President Trump and offered to help him bring those Panama Canal ports back into the U.S. hands. Well, now he's saying something very different.
Are we going to have a recession in the United States?
As I said on Monday at a talk that I gave at the New York Economic Club, I think we're very close, if not in a recession now. The United States, post-World War II, was a global stabilizer. We are the global destabilizer.
Right.
He said this while talking about the tariffs imposed by Donald Trump.
To me, Larry, and it's all self-inflicted, by the way. None of it needed to happen.
This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something that we've created.
Now, the funniest part of this interview came when Larry here told us that houses are going to get even more expensive.
That if you just take the tariffs in the cost of home building, the average new home could be up as much as 26%. We already have a housing affordability problem.
None of this sounds any good to me.
Is he joking? Surely he can't think people are that stupid. I mean, buying a house has already become damn near impossible for most Americans since the average price has reached nearly $420,000. And we're not even talking about places like California, where that price easily goes over $900,000. And the reason for this price hike spike is pretty simple. Real estate giants like Blackstone keep buying up all the houses. And who's the biggest shareholder of Blackstone, you may ask? Well, of course, it's BlackRock and Vanguard. Larry knows all of this, but he's lying about it to turn people against Donald Trump. And the reason for this change in tone is pretty clear to me. China isn't allowing BlackRock to gobble up those extremely important ports, and Larry wanted them ever so badly.
Well, first of all, my kids called me and said, BlackRock bought the Panama Canal. Can we go on it? There are 44 ports in 32 countries. I mean, there are 6 of the ports are in the Suez Canal. No one ever mentions that one.
On top of it, the president has ended the electric car mandate, which started the lithium craze, and we all know what kind of stuff BlackRock has done to get that lithium. I think she and Biden are pretty much responsible for this gold rush for lithium in our great country, and I have a way to prove it. I'm sure many of you remember the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which this administration passed almost 2 years ago. If you remember, the vice president was gloating about it all over the internet.
Today is a historic day. With the passage of this bill, the United States Congress is putting in place the president's agenda. And our president, Joe Biden, pledged that we would bring down healthcare costs, that we would address the climate crisis, and that corporations would pay their fair share. And that is what is happening on the path toward building America's future and strengthening America's family. It's a good day.
A whopping $660 billion are going to be spent on climate action incentives. Now, why does that matter, you might be asking? Well, because as most financial institutes predicted all the way back in 2022, this act was tailor-made to create a lithium crunch. Now, even more interestingly, at the time, there was only one company producing any lithium in the US, and you guessed it, it was Albemarle Global, which was extracting lithium from Nevada. The simple truth is that BlackRock isn't happy with what Donald Trump is doing, so they're publicly criticizing his policies, which is exactly why I still have faith in this administration. Now, moving forward, let's talk about one industry where my faith is going down every single day. I'm, of course, talking about the aviation industry, because there seems to be a new crash every other day. And the latest one took place near Boca Raton Airport and resulted in a tragic loss of life.
I'm going to show you these live pictures of breaking news of a small plane crash in Boca Raton. The twin-engine plane crashed at about 10:30 this morning.
Burning wreckage on the ground, 3 on board. No one survived this.
Oh my God! Oh!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Initially, these incidents were common with large commercial jets, but lately, more and more private planes and helicopters seem to be going down. And I, for one, want to know why this is happening more often now. The next story on my radar is also not going to receive any love from the mainstream media because it's a victory for Donald Trump. The Swiss pharmaceutical giant Novo Nordisk has just pledged to invest $23 billion in the next 5 years to open 7 brand new facilities in the US. Now, this is great news because not only will this create 5,000 new jobs, but it will also bring down the prices of Ozempic and Wegovy. And if you don't know how we're getting screwed while getting those drugs, just watch this clip.
Bottom line is you are charging the American people substantially more for the same exact drug than you are charging people in other countries. And my question is, why?
We launched Ozempic in 2018. We have had it on the market for some years. During those years, our price has declined by 40%. In the same period, the insurance companies and their PBMs, the big conglomerate of legal entities they have more than doubled, actually close to tripled their profit. So the fact that we can actually secure that 99% of people with insurance have access, that there's a copay at the pharmacy of $25 or less without premiums going up in Medicare.
So if we can start manufacturing them at home, maybe we can cut some of the middlemen out and this drug can cost $100 instead of $1,000. The next story I have for you might show you how shady some influencers can be.
So this morning I received an offer from the DNC for $20,000. Guidelines, a script, and even talking points on how I should criticize Trump and conservative media. Now, I said no, but before I did, they're probably going to get really pissed off for me putting this out in a video, but honestly, I really don't give a f***. You should have chose to watch my content instead of assuming that I would do the dirty work for you. But I really wanted to get some insider information and a full rundown as to what the contract actually consisted of, which is a contract for 1 year, and I don't really know who the f*** would do a 1-year contract for $20,000, but anyways. But to not only create a Discord, but to also link up with other DNC creators. I got the rundown of which creators are actually involved with these contracts, and it's really interesting to see some very familiar names. And the talking points in themselves are just so f***ing cringy, dude. I couldn't even look at them with a straight face. But see, the most ironic part about these contracts is the fact that the names that just so happen to be at the head of these management agencies are some of the same exact names that were involved with conservative media. And I know this because I was also offered a contract last year by conservative media, which I also did not take.
Look, as someone who's been doing this for years, I already knew about this, but I'm sharing it today because I want you to know why I have to use sponsors. Political channels don't get much love from most platforms, and if you're making shorts, forget about earning anything. And that's why these TikTokers are happily taking money from one side or the other and shilling whatever their employer gives them. Since I like to talk about whatever the hell interests me and I think might interest you, I have no choice but to use sponsors from time to time. But at least I get to choose those sponsors and have the opportunity to make longer videos to cover complex subjects, which is something you simply cannot do on TikTok. I really want to know what you guys think about this lawsuit against the DOJ. Do you think it's a good idea? Share your thoughts with everyone in the comments down below. That'll do it for today's video, and I'll see you on the next one.